back to my last video where I spoke about dropping calories doesn't necessarily will put you in a greater deficit. You might be thinking, well, how is that even possible? And I'll give you an example. So for me, when I'm around about 2,400, 2,500 calories, that's kind of like the sweet spot for me to drop body fat. If I go a little bit higher than that, I'm not going to lose body fat quite as quickly. However, if I drop significantly lower than that, I also slow down the rate at which I'm losing body fat sometimes. And you might think, well, how is that? How is that a thing? Surely isn't it the lower that you go, the faster the progress is going to be? And it doesn't necessarily work that way. And the reason, there can be a number of reasons, but I'll give you the specific reason that it happens to me and for a lot of other clients that I've worked with, is that when I'm sitting around that 2,400 calorie range, I'm still getting enough energy in to fuel the exercise that I'm doing throughout the day. And my training performance is still reasonably good. I don't see any massive detriments in my training performance. I'm a little bit hungry because I'm still in a reasonable calorie deficit there. So I'm still dropping weight quite quickly. But then when I say really crash it down to say 1,500 to 1,900 calories, my training performance takes a massive dive. It's just like I go like a couple of days eating under 2,000 calories and it's just not enough energy to fuel the amount of output. So my performance decreases. And if my performance is decreasing, then it's just like, well, I can just stay in the gym longer and I can do a longer session, but it's a poor quality session. So that doesn't really help it as well. So I'm going to have less recovery, which means it's going to take longer for my muscles to recover between sessions. So it really affects that side of things. But also I find that I'm a little bit more lethargic. So if I have to walk up steps or something like that, when I'm talking, I'm not as animated, conversation speed's slower, cognitive processing is slower. So it's just like my whole body at that level of calories is just not performing as well and not producing the same amount of output. So you might just think, oh, well, if I just lower this side of the equation, then the gap is bigger and I'll just lose all this extra body fat. But what actually happens a lot of the time is the lower you bring this down, your output will drop as well, whether you like it or not. It's a subconscious thing. People don't realize that they subconsciously decrease their energy output as they drop calories. So you definitely do want to decrease calories, but if the gap's too big, your output is kind of going to catch up. So it's kind of finding that sweet spot there so that you can lower calories down and also have enough energy to function normally and not have, symptoms. If you drop your calories low enough, like when I go like super low when I'm in a peak week or something like that, I have trouble sleeping. And then it's just like I do like a heavy leg session and it's just like it'll take like a week and a half for my legs to recover. So it's just, there is such thing as going too low where it's just, it's not meeting your actual energy requirement. It's just kind of impractical starvation basically. But essentially you want to be in a pretty significant deficit, maybe 20-25% below maintenance. And that's kind of the sweet spot I find.